So for the second part, we are going to talk about phasing. And phasing is a really powerful tool, and you can do some really cool stuff with it. So we have an exercise we're going to probably do next week for phasing, but I want to show you and help you kind of build a bit of a cheat sheet for phasing to really help you understand what phasing is doing. So when we talk about phasing, we talk about different objects doing different things. So what I'm going to do here is I'm in a family right now. Let's get out of this family and let's go to a project. And let's see here. Okay, so we have this project here. I'm going to go to my level 1 and I'm just going to draw some walls here. And we're just going to draw maybe we're going to draw a box here. And then we're going to draw some extra walls kind of coming out and around here. Like so. So we have a few things going on here. So we have this kind of double box. And so what, from a rationale perspective, what we're going to say is this inner box is our existing. And then our outer box is our proposed. So what we're going to do. And so how do we set that up and how do we situate that within Revit? So under properties, when we have objects selected, down here we have this section called phasing. And so we have phase created and phase demolished. So built into Revit right now, we actually have existing and new construction. So we can go in here and we could actually set this part to be existing. And then you'll see that the walls change. So they're all kind of shaded in white and they kind of disappear now. And then we have our new walls over here. So this is starting to resemble, what we call phase 1 and phase 2. The other thing that I would like to do is I would like to remove this corner. We don't want to have this corner here anymore. But if you look, we have this wall extending all the way through. And so what I typically do in a scenario like this is, and we're going to do this a couple times. So we're going to start with the walls and we're going to build on some complexity. So if we go up here, we have this break line tool or split element tool. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this wall. And I'm going to try to be a bit strategic. I'm going to split this wall just right there. And we'll do it again just right there. And so now what we can do is we can grab these two inner pieces. And we're going to go down here and we're going to say phase created existing. So that's right. We're going to go phase demolished, which is new construction. And so now you can see that those walls are showing as dotted. So they're disappearing. And within Revit, I think this is kind of where it gets confusing. So we have down here phasing. So right now I'm just clicking in the white space and clicking in my view. And right now we have the phase filter, show all. We also have show complete. We have show previous, so demo and new. We have show previous and demo. So you have a whole bunch of different phasing that shows in different ways. And so there's a few things we're going to do. One is we're going to kind of develop a drawing or a set of views that you can kind of see what is going on and what you want to do. And then we're going to talk about which ones to use. So let's change this back to show all. And what we're going to do is we're going to go down to our sheets here. And we're going to create a series of views and sheets. So I'm just going to remove this ugly title block here. I'm just going to remove the inner boundary and all of these elements. Just going to delete all that. Just load back in. And I'm not going to save that for the purpose of this. And so let's overwrite bottom. And so what we're going to do is we're going to create a floor plan and a 3D view, and we're going to correspond that with each phase setup. So here we have our level 1. We're going to duplicate this. And I'm going to leave the level 1 that we have here, I'm going to leave it as is. We're not going to touch that. That's going to be just our our actual drawing, and then we're going to create some additional pieces. So we're going to rename this one. We're going to call this level 1 dash existing. And then let's duplicate this again. We're going to call this level 1 previous and demo. We're going to duplicate it again. This part is really interesting. We're going to call this show all. And then we're going to call this last one show complete. And so we're going to do this for basically the floor plans as well as the 3D views. And I find it's just nice to have both because you can really understand what's going on in the 3D view. You can see the stuff that's being demoed, to see the stuff that's being changed. So let's go back to our sheet here and let's just drag these over. So we have our existing, we have our demo, previous and demo, we have our show all, and we have our show complete. And I'm going to grab all of these views and I'm going to reduce the scale just a tiny bit. Let's maybe go 1 to 50. No, sorry, wrong direction. Let's see if it allows us to type in 1 to 50 or 1 to 25. Yeah, that's better. So let's lock these here. And I think we need to tighten these up a little bit. This is not really a necessary exercise in some respects, but I really like showing phasing and design options this way, because if you actually follow this and set this up for yourself, you can kind of go back to reference it, and at the very minimum, you can go back and reference the PDF. So if you print this to PDF, you can just see, oh, this is what I need to do. It kind of creates a bit of a cheat sheet. So we have our views here. Let's go to the 3D views and let's set those up. So let's go to duplicate, and we're going to call this 3D. Let's call this existing. My extra I there. And before I do anything with this here, I'm actually going to set up a orientation. So maybe we'll set up something like that. And I'm going to go down here to this little house icon with the lock. So down here, and we're going to click Save Orientation and Lock View. And what that's going to do is when we duplicate this view, we're going to be able to keep each 3D view in the same direction, looking the same. So let's go here and let's actually change our scale to be the same. So let's go to our 1 to 25. Oh, wrong direction. 125. It's being a pain. It really does not want to let me do. 3D view doesn't matter. It doesn't actually need to match. I'll just keep it at 1 to 100 then. All right, so let's load this onto our sheet just briefly. See that. Pretty sure that should be okay. Yeah, it should be okay. So let's duplicate this with detailing. Let's duplicate it again with detailing. So we have previous and demo. Previous and demo, we have our show all. And we have our show complete. All right, and we can just drag all of these onto our other view here. Previous and demo. I might need to change the scale, but we'll see. maybe I'll move just over a little bit like that. All right, so we have this exercise kind of set up now, but these views aren't really representing what we're doing. So if we double click into this 3D view, we can go to properties and we can change this now to be existing phase. We'll change this to be show complete. And what I might do actually is, let's just add some text here. Let's deactivate view. So let's add some text here. So this is going to be phase existing, phase filter, show complete. Can't actually see what I'm typing here, so make this a little bigger. Phase, that's a new word. Filter show complete. And then, I can then add some of these descriptions kind of as we go, just so that, we can kind of keep track of what these settings are. We can do the same down here. So we can go to down here, we can change this to be existing, and we can change this to be complete. The nice thing about complete is if you have more phases, it won't show any stuff being demoed. So if you maybe have existing, you could have, some people do existing, they actually do a demo phase, where they actually demolish things and they can talk about shoring walls, temporary walls. So some people actually go through the effort of putting that kind of thing in. Might be a little excessive, but showing complete kind of, there's nothing being changed. That's what it is. So I like to make sure it's set to that. Yes, you can. So we'll talk about that in a second, or maybe not a second, but in a minute or two. So this view, let's do new construction. We're going to change this to previous and demo. And then we'll change this 2D view down here to previous and demo as well. This seems like it's a lot of work, but honestly, I think once you set this up, it'll make phasing make a lot more sense. This one is show all, so that one stays. And then this one is show complete. And it looks like our walls are inside out, so we can fix that too. Show complete. Just going to grab these 3 walls here. I'm just going to hit the space button. So, what I'm also going to do is I'm just going to turn off all of our titles here. So I'm just going to go to no title. And then I'm going to go into our floor plans here. And I'm just going to turn off of our elevations. I'm just going to do this manually because I don't have a view template set up. And we should be able to do it somewhat quickly. What I should have done was turn them off before I duplicated the views. That would have been smart. Elevation. And then I think I would have turned off the level lines in the 3D views as well. I'm not a big fan of showing level lines in the 3D views. I don't know why. I mean, I think it is useful, I guess, but I just choose not to. So now we kind of have our 3 pieces here. And we can also start to control the graphics of what these look like. So the one thing I don't like with the standard Revit is I don't like how the existing just shows as white and you don't actually see the layers of the walls. And so for me, that's kind of frustrating because I think even if it's an existing wall, you still want to see the layers. It's still kind of an important part. And so what we can do is, I believe under View or under Manage, I think it's under Manage. Under Manage, we have phases over here. And so we talked a second ago about how do you create more phases. So this is how you create more phases. So you can insert before or after. The one thing about phases is you can't delete them. So they're kind of permanent. So you just want to be careful of and be strategic with what you do. One thing that I often will do depending on the project, is sometimes I will rename new construction to be phase 1, because sometimes we do have multiple phases, and then it's like existing, new construction, addition, or, I mean, that might make sense, but sometimes what we'll do is we'll write, phase 1 new construction, and then we can do phase 2 new construction as well, and that way there's a bit more of a description of what those parts are doing, not just new construction. So over the next part, we have phase filters. So this is kind of showing what's being done with the different phases. And so what I want to do here is I want to go to existing. So let's go to previous and demo. Existing, I'm going to go to by category. And I'm going to go to show all. We'll leave it like that. By category for previous and demo. Yeah. Actually, you know what? I'm going to leave that by overridden for a second. And we can go over here to graphics overview. And so in our existing, we have the patterns hidden here. So what I actually normally do is I make sure the pattern is there, but I have no override on the foreground. And this is something that we've kind of changed with our methodology of doing things, is we actually started using foreground and background patterns a lot more. And so essentially a hatch is a foreground pattern. Any solid fill is a background pattern. So that's kind of how we set that up. And so in this case, what I will do for an existing wall is maybe I'll make it a solid fill, and then maybe I'll apply like a darker gray fill to it. And that way, when we go here, these walls look gray. So let's go back into phase filters. I think we do need to turn off overridden.
So how did you get into this page?
Manage phases.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And then we have phase filter here. So I'm going to change previous and demo to be by category. I just want to click OK and see if that works. So that does work, but it's not shading in those walls. So I think I have to do something else here. Let's go back to here. Existing. Let's make this back to overridden. And demo. I'll have to figure out how to show the layers again. But it does look a little bit better when this is gray anyway. So you have your gray wall being your existing, and then you have the layered wall being your new. If this was more of a design focused project, if we were to go to a VG in this view, and we were to do wall override, we do a cut pattern of solid black. Solid fill black. And I probably should have done that as a background pattern. Solid fill black. You can see now the existing, or the proposed shows up in black, and then the demo part we have to control within the phase part here. So the demo, this is something that we do, is for demo, we actually change the fill to be a diagonal crosshatch, and we make it orange. I think orange for me is, I think it's a nice color to signify demo, and we'll mute that color of orange a little bit so it's not as strong. And we'll do that. We'll change the line to be orange as well. And we maybe make that line weight a little bit thicker. And anything that's a projection line, we'll do orange as well. And anything that is in projection, we'll also do a background pattern of orange too. And we'll do that same crosshatch. And I just find this really shows what is to be demolished. It just really clearly articulates that. I'm going to turn off foreground pattern here. And so when we click OK here, we're now going to see that part being an orange demoed. So I just like having changing a couple of those different pieces because I think it communicates a lot better when you can actually see what is actually being demoed, what is actually new. So up here in these views, if we change these 3D views to be, is it going to let me do this to all of them at the same time? We want to change this to be hidden line view. I think I got to do it manually. I wonder if I can do this. No. Okay. Anyways, let's change this back to hidden line view. Let's change this back to hidden line view. Hidden line view. And hidden line view. So now you can see that in this 3D view, you actually fully see a cross-sectional orange thing going on here. So that whole object is orange, not just the perimeter lines. And if we were to actually go over to an elevation, you'd kind of get that same look. So if I were to change this to be previous and demo, you can see that it has that orange thing. So the one nice thing I like about this is if we were to place a window in, let's just say, this wall right here, and this window is in probably new construction. Let's go back to show complete. We change this window to be demoed. It's existing and demoed into new construction. When we have that window in there, it'll actually show an elevation that there's something happening with that window. So it's, for me, it's like a visual cue. It's like, oh, we're not just demoing the wall, that window needs to go as well. So I think this is something that we've worked on quite a bit because part of it's demo and like renovation projects is really hard to document all this. So we model a little bit differently. We model our walls broken apart a little bit. So we have an interior layer and we have an exterior layer, and we actually model two walls everywhere. And so when we're working on renovation projects, sometimes we're actually just demoing the exterior finish, and then we're adding an addition on but keeping that wall there. So that's something else we do. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And so when we model renovations in that way, it's actually super useful because now in floor plan view, or in I gotta close some of these views here. Now in your floor plan, I'm just gonna kind of very mediocrely model that. But if same concept, right? So if you had some sort of wall on the outside of another wall, like so, it would just show that one part is being demoed, or maybe I'll just do it on the inside. So it's only showing the outer layer of that's being demoed, not the inner layer. So that's something else we do. I really don't like renovation projects, but